after a human torso and foot were found inside a building in the Bronx.
The suspect has been identified as Sheldon Johnson, a criminal justice activist who previously served time in prison.
All right, Fox 5's Linda Schmidt live in the High Bridge section of the Bronx tonight with more on this surprising turn of events. Linda.
Yeah, certainly surprising. Well, first of all, this guy said he had turned his life around after spending most of his adult life in prison. In fact, just last year, he started working with the Queens Public Defender's Office. Well, now he is accused of shooting a man in the head in the apartment building right here behind me and then dismembering his body. 48-year-old Sheldon Johnson of Harlem is charged with murder and concealment of a human corpse. This is Johnson recently on Joe Rogan's podcast, talking about how he had turned his life around after a life of crime. He was working with troubled youth with the Queens Public Defender's Office. The shirt he is wearing says Queens Defenders.
I got into school. I got my G on his courses. I started interacting with guys who were teaching ART, aggression replacement training, and I started to begin to understand how these concepts work. What's positive visual self, conflict resolution.
Well, police say Johnson's life of crime apparently was not over. He is accused of shooting 44-year-old Collin Small in the head in Small's sixth-floor apartment, covering his body. Detectives combing over potential evidence again today. Inside the apartment in the High Bridge section of the Bronx, a law enforcement source telling me they found a man's torso and foot in a plastic storage bin. Investigators also freeze in his apartment building in Harlem. The superintendent of the victim's apartment building saying a neighbor heard gunshots, and surveillance video tells the story.
Okay. So, I mean, this is wild, man. I mean, this is a you had your whole life ahead of you, and you decide to just throw it away. Prison reform activist who complained on the Joe Rogan podcast that he had been a victim of systematic racism has been arrested for dismembering a man and storing his severed head and other body parts in his freezer. Sheldon Johnson appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast last month after serving a 25-year jail sentence. During his appearance on the show, Johnson explained how he had sold a large quantity of cocaine to another man who didn't pay up. I mean,
I need my money. This is just me being honest. This is me being straight. You know, I gave you something, and we had an understanding that you were going to pay me. And when I came home, when I finally located this particular individual, he had his girlfriend with him. And this guy owed me $5,000 for some drugs that I gave him on consignment. I gave him an eighth of a kilo, which is 125 grams of cocaine. And when I saw him, he had a bunch of jewelry on. He was with his girlfriend. She had a bunch of jewelry on. And I said, hey, man, where's my money at? Oh, yo, I was going to pay you. And as far as I was concerned, his jewelry we was even. So I robbed him. And I took his jewelry. And his girlfriend happened to be there. And unfortunately, she got caught up in the situation. I had a bunch of young guys with me, and they robbed her as well. And he got hit in the head with the gun right here on the side of his head, and he got 2 stitches. And they gave me 25 years for that case.
Did you hit him in the head?
No. One of the guys that I was with hit him in the head.
You know, one of the things that's happened through all of our conversations that we've had on the show is it highlights how insanely broken the criminal justice system is. Broken. I mean, it's so broken and it seems so overwhelmed, and the root cause of it is never addressed. I mean, this is my take on this whole "Make America Great Again" thing. You want to make America great again? Make it so there's less losers. Make it so that more people have a fucking chance.
The thing is, though, this guy couldn't admit that it was because of his actions that dude's girlfriend got robbed. Now, granted, the guy who was with his girl, he caused that situation. He didn't pay that debt. All right. That's what happened. But Sheldon Johnson, this was all his fault. He should have made sure that this was a guy that was capable of paying a debt like that. You hand this man a product, you have to make sure this person could actually pay you. Okay. I am not for selling drugs. Okay. But I'm just saying the common sense principle of it. If you are providing a service, you have to make sure that you have a customer that is going to pay you. It's common sense. It's pretty much common sense right here. All right. Yeah, the system is broken, but this is not a situation where it reflects that. This is a situation here that reflects an individual who made bad choices and had to suffer the consequences of it.
The idea that everyone starts on the same line, I mean, I'm not talking about equality of outcome. That's not possible. But equality of opportunity is possible. That's a possible goal. And at least we could advance that. At least we could do something to, just change the course of who knows how many people's lives. And we don't do a fucking thing about it.
I mean, we're looking at each other because we just had lunch before we came.
Okay, my thing is this. If you want to do that, right, then that means you're going to have to cut out people's businesses. After all, there's money in making people losers, okay? The fact of the rap industry, okay? The fact that, there is the record labels have, made partnerships with private prisons to make sure that their prisons are filled due to the record labels, the record label owners making sure their artists push music that will affect your brain. Okay, and it goes to the houses of people who live in the projects, who grew up without a father, who grew up in dysfunctional home environments, that they will commit crime and they will end up filling up the prison industry with bodies. Okay, so you want to do that, then you're going to have to be ready to go to war with these industries that make money off of making people losers, especially Black people, from everything from the abortion clinics, which was inspired by Margaret Sanger, a racist who was inspired by Adolf Hitler, who believed in eugenics. All right. You have to be willing to go to war, especially with the movies. Okay, that they come out with the movies. It's always with Black people. They always got to be a gangster, always got to be a prostitute. It's always some sexual drama, always some reality TV show where the woman's a multiple baby mama or multiple, just a multiple 304, never married, basketball wives of Atlanta or hip hop, and none of them are married. And this is what's put in the face of young female girls who live in broken home environments, and they look at that and they say, that's my escape. Finding me a baller, finding me somebody that really probably doesn't care about me, probably comes from the same broken environment and just wants a break to get out. And as soon as he gets the break to get out, he's gonna go off and chase the first skirt he sees, or chase multiple skirts. Okay. If you're talking about that. about actually making America great again. Because this country is really programmed to try to make you fail. And the only people that could help you is basically your parents. Whether you grew up in a single parent household or two-parent household where the parents actually give a damn about you and actually want you to succeed, and they're willing to do what it takes and make sacrifices. Along with several other young guys, Johnson viciously beat up and robbed the man and his girlfriend of their valuables. The activist complained that his prison sentence was too long and suggested that it would have been a lot shorter if he wasn't black. Here we go. Yesterday, it was reported that Johnson was arrested by the NYPD after police found a decapitated head and a limbless torso in his apartment. He's not sorry for committing the crime, all right? He's saying, he's not focusing on his actions that put him in prison. He's focused on the fact that it was my skin color that got me with a long prison sentence. Really? You sure he probably didn't have a rap sheet? Apparently, the victim's neighbors reported hearing, "Please don't, I have a family," before hearing 2 gunshots. The victim, 44-year-old Collin Small, was shot in the head. Johnson was charged with murder, manslaughter, and criminal possession of a weapon and was refused bail. Now, here's a tweet right here. The criminal justice system criminal justice reform and restorative justice activism is primarily comprised of dangerous men who believe they're oppressed victims enabled by pathologically altruistic women who would actively refuse to identify a red flag even if it punched them in the face repeatedly. She is right. Now, I'm for prison reform because there's a lot of things that have to be reformed, from the abuses in prison, from the fact that officers are being abused, officers are abusing inmates, inmates are abusing officers, and nothing really happens to them. I'm for that. And I'm also for the fact of a person going to jail and he or she wants a second chance. But individuals like this, there has to be some stiff penalties. Okay, because you make people who want a second chance at life outside of the bars look bad. You make it impossible for them. Despite the horror of what happened during his arraignment, Johnson's supporters filled the room, with one of them wearing a jacket reading "Specializing in Wrongful Conviction Arrests." Like I said, this is the problem with the inner city black community. You don't want to look at the facts. You want to say all black people are guilty of being railroaded. All right. Not looking at it as case by case basis. All right. You're not looking at the fact that this person did things to end up in prison. That's it. That's basically it. Are there times when a person is wrongly convicted? Yes, but this is not one of them. Look at this other tweet right here. Sheldon Johnson isn't the only violent criminal in his family. His father was jailed for raping his 7-year-old stepdaughter. His excuse being that his wife was refusing to have sex with him due to his crack addiction. Okay. All right, let's look into this. His grandfather, Sheldon Johnson, was addicted to crack cocaine and went to prison. His father, Sheldon Johnson Jr., was a drug dealer and went to prison. And on a cold night in April of 2008, 14-year-old Sheldon Johnson became the third of his name to get locked up when he was arrested on manslaughter charges as a 14-year-old for a random attack on a Chinese Columbia University graduate. He punched graduate Mingyu Yu, 24, in the head repeatedly on the streets of Harlem, which caused Mingyu to fight for his life and run for safety. The Chinese national's attempt to escape led him to run into the road, where he was mowed down by an oncoming SUV and killed. Read the rest of this. Okay, let's see if it could blow up a bit. All right, hold on 1 minute. All right, it was killed. All right. In Second right here. Okay. All right, we got it. I got it right here. Let me go right back. Hold on 1 minute. Because I really want to read this right now. Here we go. Here we are. Okay, so Johnson's son subsequently spent 18 months in juvenile detention boot camp for the crime. On February 1st, episode of Joe Rogan Experience, lawyer Josh Dubin called Johnson Jr. a miracle and told the show's host that he had been unfairly sentenced for the robbery that left his victim with only 2 stitches. He was basically told by an African-American judge that you don't matter, you don't count, and I'm going to throw your life away, said Dubin, who appeared on Rogan's podcast as a guest alongside Johnson Jr. Okay. This dude doesn't take any accountability for his actions. All right. You took a life. He's had a history of being this way. And a lot of black people will probably look at me and probably say that, you know, you talk like you sound like a sellout. You sound like a white man. I don't care what I sound. I sound like I have a head on my shoulders. I sound like I can see that, you know, I could look at facts. Okay, that's what I sound like. Okay, and I'm gonna say another thing like this. Okay, I'm gonna talk about Breonna Taylor, and hey, you guys are probably gonna get mad at me. Her choice in men got her killed. All right, there are consequences for your actions in the inner city black community or the hood or the ghetto. That is not really put to the forefront. Your choices, even your choices in who you let in your life, it could have a consequence. All right. Yes, the cops went to the wrong home, but her choice in men got her killed. All right. Her first choice in a drug deal was Jamarcus Glover, whom she spent $5,000 to bail him out. Then she was the money handler for Jamarcus Glover. Cars were lined up. All right. And leaving every 10 to 15 minutes. Police had surveillance on her since 2014, 2016. Okay. When the cops came to her house, she was with what? Another drug dealer. All right. Kenneth Walker. In that man's phone, Kenneth Walker, they found text messages of him planning to rob a guy for $25,000. And he was going to sell pills to 2 women who worked at Hooters. Okay. Yes, Breonna Taylor was a victim of police bungling mishaps and mistakes. However, her choice to be with drug dealers is what made her a person of interest and eventually led to her demise. And even if they didn't went to her house, okay, to look for Jamarcus Glover, eventually it could have still happened because she was dating another drug dealer. Okay. Your choices have consequences. From the inner city black community don't want to get that. If you're a black person that talks sense, you are the enemy. You're a clown. You're a Negropean. You're brainwashed. They'll say any type of stupid nonsense to try to shame you to accept their ignorance. And the only thing does that type of mentality feeds are the white supremacists who want to try and say being a criminal is in a black person's DNA. I remember I'm looking at this story. When I was looking at this story to do the live stream to get the facts, they already had white people on Twitter trying to say and justify, see, criminality is in the black person's DNA. That's all who you are helping. You are helping white supremacy. Of course, black people, you will have some blacks who are from the hood or from the ghetto or from, a really staunch Democrat. They will look at this and say, you're an agent. They'll say some dumb stuff. You're an agent. You hate black people. I'm black. I don't hate black people. I just point out the foolishness of the mentality of a good chunk of them who think that this person is innocent, or who think that your actions do not have consequences. I believe I just mentioned Corin Gaines. She was also dating a drug dealer. SWAT team came to come for her boyfriend and had a warrant for his arrest. She decides to hold her baby and to have a shotgun in the other hand and try to point it at the leader of the SWAT team. It didn't work out for her. What I'm trying to say is this: your actions have consequences. And you trying to say, shame the blacks within your community that have sense, to shame them into silence is not helping you. You're only helping white supremacy. I feel bad, I really do, for blacks who want to come out of prison. They want to walk the straight and narrow and change their life, because you got examples like Sheldon Johnson who are going to make it hard for you and enable white supremacy to see that you never see the light of day, unfortunately. All right. Anything you want to know about this channel is in the description box. Other than that, I'm out. Later.